next.
Well, we see some positive signs for the job market. Hiring is up. Unemployment rate is down. The jobless rate dipping, in fact, to 8.8% last month, the lowest level in 2 years. The economy is adding jobs in the private sector. We're seeing overall the addition of 216,000 jobs last month. That's a little bit better than expected, although we should mention just barely enough to keep up with population growth. So we want to put that out there. It's now about 2 years since the end of the recession officially. So we're asking the question today, what is the effect on different parts of the economy? What is the effect of the job market on all these different sectors, and what should we expect next? To talk housing, Dani Babb is a real estate analyst and CEO of the Babb Group. On the retail beat, Kristen Bentz is the president of the retail firm, The Talented Blonde, LLC. And on a broader view on the markets overall, Mike Santoli is an associate editor at Barron. So we thank you all because we know the job market really affects all these different parts of our lives. And Dani, starting with you, we've talked a lot about the housing market and the data just not being great. If the job market is improving, and we are seeing it improve, then why isn't housing improving as well?
Well, as you point out, it's barely keeping up with population growth, so that's one issue. But even if we went back to the natural unemployment rate today, we're still going to see a slowdown in housing, and that's a number of factors like you pointed out, we've mentioned a few times. But part of that is even the employed people today are worried about the longevity of their jobs. They're worried about rental rates, which are actually increasing. They're worried about mortgage rates, which could potentially go up by the end of 2011, it looks like. And they're worried about losing that home mortgage interest deduction, not to mention the fact that the credit market is tightly frozen for a lot of consumers. So you put all these things together, and you know, people are worried about a double dip in housing. No one wants to go into a $600,000 investment only to lose 20% in the next 3 years. So until we see stabilization there, the housing market, or the job market, we can recover by 3%. I don't think it's going to affect housing.
You know, Kristen, because a lot of us see our wealth or hold our wealth in our homes, that affects our psychology when it comes to shopping. We talk so much about prices going up. Number one, is that valid? Are we actually seeing a rise in prices that consumers should really, truly be concerned about? And where are you watching for those price increases?
Well, let's talk about cotton firstly. So that's really going to hit consumers just in time for back to school, because most retailers actually locked in their cotton prices 6 months ago, but they're going to start passing that on to you now. So the average price for a pair of jeans, just to break even, retailers have to add on $2. So your cotton t-shirts, your underwear, your jeans, all that stuff is really going to start, you know, affecting your wallet. In addition, we have corn going up, we have beef going up, we have cocoa, we have coffee, everything, gasoline. So that's, you know, the 1-2 punch to keep the consumer very cautious, and that's what I worry about. I worry about consumption.
And rightfully so, right, Mike? Because consumption for the consumer drives the economy. One of the other things the report shows, though, is that our wages aren't going up. So we're not really keeping up with some of those cost increases. Austin Goolsby told me earlier, listen, we hope that corporations get back in gear and start paying people more, but hey, we're coming out of a tough recession. Do you think we'll see wages going up anytime soon to keep up with that?
By inches, yeah. I mean, I think you still have too big a pool of unemployed and underemployed folks out there. You know, right now, in the last 12 months, the average monthly job gain has been very comparable to the post-recession periods at this point in the cycle in 2004 and only a little worse than 1994. The problem is, and the reason that the Federal Reserve is not going to get aggressive in raising interest rates the way they did in those periods very soon, in my opinion, is because we had such a deep hole. In other words, the recession in employment was so much deeper that even that kind of standard rate of increase has not really sopped up enough of that untapped labor. So wages, it seems, probably going to be sticky to the downside.
So then what, Mike? I mean, what happens next?
What happens next is, I think, the continued trend of gradual improvement. If there's a good news about inflation in necessities, it's that it doesn't necessarily allow the consumer as in aggregate to kind of fuel consumption-based inflation in the rest of the economy. So it's going to mean that interest rates are going to stay low. People are going to be able, if they qualify, to refinance continually at lower rates for a little while now, unless we get a really great upside surprise in the jobs report very soon. And that means we continue to kind of nurse ourselves back to health and not necessarily accelerate into anything like a boom time economy.
Hey, Dani, just really quick, Mike says we're going to see the low interest rates. We're going to be able to refinance. It's going to be all good. You agree with that?
Oh, heck no, absolutely not. We may see low interest rates through the end of the year, maybe even for the next several years, but it's irrelevant if people can't get the darn loan to begin with. So if we're having consumers that need 2 or 3 appraisals before they can close a home, and if their credit score changes by 10 points from the time they started the mortgage application, from the time they close the house, sorry, disqualified right at the end of the closing process. There's no way.
Wow. So and that's still a question about the credit markets. Guys, unfortunately, I have to run for some breaking news. We appreciate it. Kristen, Mike, and Danny. Look forward to talking to you guys again.